Hello, guys. So today I'm going to talk to you about comments. How to write comments in your codes here in Eclipse. And I guess this notion is not only applicable to Java, but to all other programming languages out there, be it C++ or Python. It's always important to write comments and yeah, because it's something that is mostly overlooked by so many developers. Even people with much experience tend to overlook this very small detail that is about writing comments in your code. So I'm briefly going to talk to you about why it's important to write comments in your code, and also I'm just gonna quickly show you how you can write comments in your code. Okay, so the very first reason why it's important to write comments is because by writing comments, it makes your code be much more clear, understandable. First of all, to you, and second of all, to any other person that may happen to be reading your code. And why I say to you, because sometimes when you write applications and when you're writing codes for a certain project or a certain application that you're building, you may end up writing even hundreds or thousands of lines. And it often happens that sometimes you would want to change some function or some portion of codes, uh, in your code. And it may become much more confusing since you have so many lines and you may not remember exactly why you wrote a certain portion of code and exactly what it's supposed to be executing in your application as a whole. That's where writing comments becomes important, because with comments you have the opportunity to write a simple explanation about why you wrote a particular portion of code at a particular uh, place, for example, and it becomes easy. If you need to change, you know exactly what you are changing, you know exactly what you are doing. And secondly, it makes your code clear to a person that might end up reading your code. And let's say, for example, that you're working for an organization, and it happens that um, when you work in a company, for example, as a developer, you will be working with people, with colleagues, for example. And it will surely happen that they would want to read your code, for example, and want to understand, because they are also working on a certain another portion of maybe the application that you are building. So if they open your code and there's no comment, it may be difficult for them to really understand why you wrote certain portions of codes at certain places of your code. So with comments, it's going to be a lot more easier for them to understand and, be able to uh, collaborate on a particular project that you are working on. So writing comments is really important because it makes your code clear and understandable to you or to any other person that may end up reading your code. Secondly, writing comments is also important because it is considered to be as one of the good programming habit. It's a very good programming habit, and sometimes it may demonstrate your level of professionalism, just by writing comments in your code. Because when some people or somebody is going to read your code and be able to understand exactly what what were the various steps that you went through into developing your application, or solving a particular problem in your application, it gives the person an idea of how organized you are, and how good you can be in terms of programming and writing codes. So writing comments is also important because it gives you the possibility to uh, give an explanation or a summary about the application that you are writing. you know Maybe for a person reading your code for the first time, it's also important for him to know, a little bit about what you are writing and what is actually beyond your mind when writing these codes. And you can also write your name, the date that the code was written or modified or edited. So you can give these various information to people reading your code, and it's really, really important. It also gives you, when you write comments, it also gives you the possibility of writing brief explanation about certain statements that you write in your code, or certain portions of codes that you write. For example, if you are writing a statement that is supposed to um, output the name of a user or anything like that, with the use of a comment, you can still put a little explanation. Sometimes if you come back to it, it will allow you to remember why you put that portion of code there. So now I'm going to show you how you can actually write comments in your code. But first of all, what we have to keep in mind that is that there are two types of comments. There are two ways that we can write comments in a code. Okay, so the first one is what we usually call a single line comment, and the second one is the multiple line comment. So the single line comment is actually a comment that you write on a single line, on one line. Okay, for example, let's take for example here the statement that I have here, system out that print line, and between bracket I wrote hello world. And if I would like to write a comment, for example, a single line comment, just to describe, what I uh, I was trying to do by writing that portion of code, that statement, I will put two slashes like this, and then write a simple or a brief explanation. I would say, uh, you know, statement to output hello world. So what it does is that when I'm going to compile my code, the compiler is actually going to overlook whatever I write after the two slashes here. So during compilation, the compiler would definitely know that this one that I have written here is just a comment, something that I'm writing for myself or for someone that is going to read my code. It's just for explanation and for myself. So it's not going to compile this portion of code. Okay, so that's it about the single line comment. So you can write it whatever you want to write it. For example, we have here um, on top here to do auto-generated method stop. So when the compiler runs, it's going to ignore this line here, because as we can see, we have two slashes and then to do auto-generated method stub. So this is how you write a single line a single line comment. So now, how do we write a multiple line comment? So to write a multiple line comment, you have to use a slash and then the star, and you write your comment inside. I'm going to say this application is to output hello world and my name. So as you can see, I have my comment on 2 lines here. So that's why we call it multiple line. For example, if you want to write a comment on 2, 3, 4, 5, or multiple lines, this is how you write it. You put the slash here, the slash, and then the star, and you close, and then you write your comment, and then you have to close it with a star and then a slash again. So with a single line, the comment needs to be on 1 line, and with a multiple line comment, as you can see here, the comment is on 2 line. I could even put 3 lines here, you see. So just by the color, you can definitely know that this that I wrote here between the slash star is actually a comment. And when the compiler is going to compile my code, it's definitely going to know that this that I wrote inside the slash and the star is actually a comment that I am writing just to remind me about why I'm writing the code and what is the code supposed to accomplish for me. So guys, that's it for comments, and thank you for watching this video, and let's meet in the next video. Thanks.